Hello and welcome. Today we have a game sent in by SXLightning from the EU server. He plays Japanese destroyers and had contacted me in the past to showcase some of his games. This is quite the match. He is in the tier 9 Japanese destroyer, the Kagerou. And this match is on the map North, and it is the 2-cap domination mode. And in terms of teams, I think that actually his team has an advantage because they have 2 Amagis and a Tirpitz. The enemy team gets 3 Tirpitzes instead. So, essentially, his plan is to go straight towards enemies to fire a volley of torpedoes as fast as possible. Like right now, the cooldown came off and enemies are within range, so he can simply fire his torpedoes. Of course, in the tight spread. Actually, I'm not sure which target he was going for. Might be the Izumo. Because sadly, this is a replay, so everything doesn't work out quite right. I don't actually like the Kagerou that much in terms of destroyers because she fires 2 4 torpedo volleys. I think it is 2 at 15 kilometers. And the problem with them is that, well, the Shimakaze gets a huge boost compared to the Kagerou. Yep, that volley was definitely going for the Izumo. Essentially, now he just looped around to not keep moving, but if an enemy destroyer were to head into the strait he was in, he could, run away. This seems like a Shimakaze volley, and he got many hits, 5 hits from a Kagerou. That's insane. If he were a Shimakaze, that would have been a kill. Sadly, the Izumo survived though. He'd like to fire these torpedoes, but he would risk hitting the Shimakaze, which is unfortunate. This is something you probably shouldn't do to your allies, which is sail right in front of them. And now it's time to deal with this Gering, which is actually pretty dangerous in a Japanese destroyer. You don't really want to fight one in an extended battle. But short exchanges with gunfire are fine because the Gering's advantage is mainly damage per second rather than damage in one strike with guns at least. And the Shimakaze next to the Gering is running away, which is good, I guess. Right now, looking where the enemies are, I would actually risk going, or rather trying to follow the Shimakaze, because there are many battleships there that could be fired upon. Of course, he would have to be rather careful, because, well, if the Shimakaze spots him, then the mine and other stuff around here would essentially kill him or heavily damage. Like right now. So it's a good thing he didn't really follow the Shimakaze fully. Because if he gets spotted with a Des Moines at 9 kilometers, he's pretty much dead. On top of that, their base is being kept, so the Kagerou starts heading back to deal with the cruiser that's capping, and asks for help from the Fletcher, because a cruiser is a bit difficult to deal with in destroyer. Because they have a points advantage because of the 2 kill lead they have, it's a good idea for them to go cap their base again. It's only one ship that rushed through, so they should probably be able to do it. If you fall behind the points too much, then you put your team at quite a disadvantage, because the enemy can look at it and go, okay, we have like 100 points lead if we play this equally, and then they can just stall for time and win through that. Well, those torpedoes mean that there's at least one destroyer or a long-range torpedo cruiser, which is unlikely. A destroyer more likely, and the Fletcher was spotted, so I don't actually know about that wide volley torpedo. I mean, yeah, it might hit the Fletcher, but if we're honest, I think that you should essentially always fire tight spread torpedoes, because if you hit tight spread, torpedoes are much harder to dodge, because in wide spread torpedoes you only have to dodge that one torpedo and that's it. On a tight spread you might have to do 2, so if you dodge one you might get hit by the second one, so that's why I prefer the tight spread torpedoes on almost everything. That Fletcher is pretty screwed though. He is damaged and visible. If he had smoke, he should have used it a lot earlier. And these torpedoes are no problem for a Kagerou, or any destroyer really. Just turn and you will just dodge them easily.
All stations, concentrate fire on the target.
Fletcher is still alive though, have to remember that. On top of that, they are at a pretty big points at disadvantage if you equalize numbers. Oh, the Fletcher got hit by a torpedo. Wow, that's really bad, Fletcher. You shouldn't do that. And now I think you're gonna die as well, because, well, the guns in Japanese destroyers are actually pretty decent. They might not fire as fast as US ones, but their ballistics is much better, so it's much easier to hit stuff. On top of that, you gave a smoke to the destroyer, so he isn't worried about firing, because when he goes into the smoke, he isn't detected anymore. So he doesn't have to worry about this New Orleans and the 2 Tirpitzes.
Torpedoes, direct front.
Engine boost deactivated.
It's interesting that this guy seems to be using normal repair, something I wouldn't actually use. I would just wait. What? Yeah, it seems to be the normal one. I would almost always use the premium repair on a destroyer, or damage control party, I mean, because, well, the amount of times your destroyer gets crippled is so high that I would really want that one. Firing torpedoes at that cruiser seemed kinda useless, but firing torpedoes at this Tirpitz that's coming from behind that island is a pretty good idea. They probably won't expect that one as much, but you probably don't want to fire according to this line, because they are likely to turn after they get clear of the... Like you can see, this kind of a volley is much better. But now he paid too much attention to that, and there's a Tirpitz within concealment range, so he has to smoke. Well, he can fire his guns right now though. It wouldn't be a problem, because he won't be detected anyway.
Smoke screen set.
The main thing is not to move when smoke is active, because then you won't get out of the smoke and will stay undetected until the smoke clears. You do need somebody else to spot the ships, but once you have that, it's okay. You can fire your guns with impunity. And at least one of those torpedoes hit the turrets, which is really good. Next torpedo is gonna be hard though, because, well, they are all facing towards the destroyer now. He can finish the attack off, which is a good idea because it's a cruiser that can detect him. On top of that, his smoke should disappear soon, so he has to start moving soon. And smoke disappeared, so he is detected because he fired his guns, which is really dangerous because it's a Des Moines at 8 kilometers. So luckily for him, the Des Moines had AP loaded. And he isn't a very good shot, it appears. Look at all those misses. Wow. How do you get to a Des Moines and fire like that? And why are you still firing AP? Oh well, luckily for the Kagerou, that Des Moines wasn't very good at anti-destroyer gameplay. He could fire torpedoes at the turrets, which is a good idea, I guess. Oh, these are from the Atago, so nothing surprising about that. I think leaving the turrets is fine right now. Don't have to deal with any of it. I think dealing with that Des Moines is a good idea next. That's something nice I like that he says in chat, care about torpedoes, because there were some allies around that area and it would be really bad if he got a team killed from something like that. This turret is a good target too, but I think the likelihood of the turrets turning in this time that the torpedoes would hit is rather high, so... But then again, have to try at least, otherwise it's just wasted. Right now, firing guns would be nice, right? But in the sense that you could have lots of targets to fire at. Wait, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have the destroyer range upgrade. Oh well, I guess. But he definitely shouldn't fire at ships at this point because there are way too many around him which could kill him very quickly. Especially the cruisers. But I think at this point the game is in the bag already. They have a 300 point advantage and ship advantage, and there's less than 6 minutes left.
Our victory is in sight.
Well, 2 of those are gonna hit the turrets, which is good. Almost 3, but almost isn't the same as 3 hitting. I think one thing that Wargaming might want to do is give an even tighter spread to destroyers if possible. Like you could fire an even tighter spread. That would be really nice, especially the long range destroyers. At this point, firing guns is fine, I think. The cruisers are far enough, and this turret isn't doing very well. And the turrets died. So firing the guns was kinda useless, the same as using the smoke really. I don't think that that the other ships would spot you even if you hadn't used smoke and fired your guns, because you only get plus 4 kilometers in your concealment range when you fire your guns on a destroyer, so that would be like 11 kilometers, and no ship is within 11 kilometers except that turrets. So now it's just trying to finish off that New Orleans and probably the Des Moines, I guess. I think that's an easier target than the Tirpitz. But what a game so far. In a Kagerou, no less. This is really amazing. One of the reasons why I don't like playing destroyers is that I think destroyers are the most expensive class to play. Because I think you do need the premium damage control party, and you really do want the premium smoke as well. On top of that, you are very likely to die in a lot of games, or at least take massive damage. All of that means that your repair, which is almost as high as every other type of ship, will have to be paid a lot, and that's just gonna end up costing you too much. And you aren't really strong enough to offset all of that cost. Well, now it's time to finish the New Orleans, I guess. It's completely worth it to fire these guns, I think. To try to kill secure, of course. Oh, and game ended, because they got 1,000 points. I think the Des Moines died as well. Because this was a replay, we'll have to look at pictures, but oh well. 440k credits, that's pretty good, and 4,500 experience. I was hoping for a little bit more, actually. 11 torpedo hits is pretty amazing at this tier. And if you look at team score, that's 3,000 base experience. That's insane in a destroyer, in my opinion. That would be excellent in any class of ship, and in a destroyer it's even more amazing. And if you look at it, that's 150k damage in a destroyer. That is simply mind-blowing, I think. This was an excellent game, and thanks again for SXLightning for sending it to me. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe, and thanks for watching.